Hey, we're back and we're continuing to learn how to use ChatGPT to do all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so this is the second part in a little tutorial series I'm doing on how to use ChatGPT in your everyday life. This is for a non-technical audience and folks who really don't have a lot of experience using ChatGPT or with AI. I'm just trying to get you onboarded and set up so that this technology isn't passing you by. You can actually interact with it and get some benefit out of it. And I think you'll enjoy it. So stick around and let's go ahead and dive in. Today we're in module 2, okay? And just a real quick recap. I'm just going to bounce over here to my trusty slide just to show you what we're going to talk about, okay? The first thing we're going to do here is talk about the ChatGPT app, okay? So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of where everything's at in there, because in module 1 I mentioned the app and maybe you got started, but I just want to make sure I point out kind of where everything is in there. So we'll take a quick second to do that, okay? And then right after that, we are going to get some help with our writing with ChatGPT, like drafting emails and stuff like that. We're going to do something fun like drafting an email to our homeowners association, all right? And then we're going to talk about how we can use this tool to help us understand complex topics. Like, for example, estate planning. Like if you need wills and trusts or you're curious about what all that stuff is, of course you can go read all about it in the library or on the internet, on web pages. But what's cool is ChatGPT has consolidated a lot of that information and can give you good executive summaries, and then you can sort of dig in and ask questions where you want. And of course that's no substitution for like having a discussion with an attorney and talking about your situation and all that stuff, things that ChatGPT won't know, but it's a great starting point. And so like that's a good example of something that you can learn about really easily using ChatGPT. All right, so let's bounce over here to my next slide, okay, and talk about the mobile app. All right, so I just want to, I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit so that we can see things a little bit better. Okay, let me get out my drawing tool. Now, here's the thing. When you get into the app, now I use an iPhone, so yours may look slightly different on an Android device, but it should be about the same. Okay, so when you're into the app, most things are pretty obvious. Like you're going to type your message right down here where it says message, and that's kind of where it defaults to when you open the app, okay? And you've got these little buttons here, like they just auto-suggest little stuff that you can do, right? So you can just type that or just tap that little button and then it will send a prompt in and basically kind of get you off and running with some fun thing like create an image for my presentation. It'll ask you, okay, what kind of image? And then it will get rolling for you, okay? Now there's other things you can do here, right? You can dictate to the app. So if you touch the little microphone thing there with your finger, then it's going to ask you to allow you to use the microphone on your phone to talk to it. You can just say yes on that, right? Or you may have to go to your settings and allow it. But that's that. And then you can dictate to it. So just like we were talking about yesterday where you can ask Siri things, well, or Alexa, well, you can ask ChatGPT these things and it's actually a lot smarter about helping you. So, and I love doing this on my phone. Like I dictate a lot of my texts and stuff like that anyway, just because it's easier for me than trying to type with my fingers on the tiny keyboard, okay? So if you're in the same boat, then use the dictation. Okay, now the other thing I want to show you here is that ChatGPT are constantly kind of rolling out new models and new capabilities, okay? So the way you get to those and the way you change your model is by just tapping on the top of the screen here where it says ChatGPT 4.0, okay? So that's what it says now. Yours may say something different, but you tap on that and then that is going to open a menu here which is going to show you some cool stuff. So we're using ChatGPT 4.0 right now. We could switch to the 0.1, which is kind of the deeper, better one if we wanted. But like I wanted to point this out because like right now, ChatGPT have recently rolled out this cool thing called tasks where you can basically like schedule reminders or that kind of thing into chats. So you can have it like every day give you the stock price of Ford or some company that you're tracking. Stock price, volume, like all kinds of stuff, right? And you can have it delivered every morning at 9 a.m. if you want. That's the kind of thing you can set up as a task. And I've got a whole video about tasks that I'll link to down in the description, but I just wanted you to know where that's at if you're on your phone, because it's not as obvious as when you're in the desktop version, okay? So, and then last but not least, I just wanted to also point out how to get to your previous chats when you're on your phone, okay? So the thing you do is just touch on this little menu thing up here. It's just a couple of lines, but what that does is it brings out this little menu, okay? Like that pops out over the top of your screen, and then you can see all of your previous chats, all right? So that's kind of how that works, and that's how you find everything. So that's the mobile summary, all right? Now, let's go back over here because I want to talk real quick about some of the things that we can do, right? So first off, we're going to get some help with writing. Now, ChatGPT can do a ton of stuff, right? It can, let me just get rid of some of these. It can check spelling and grammar. It can make your writing clearer and change the tone of things. Like if you write an angry email and you want to sort of tone it down before you send it, you can always wait a day or two and sort of cool off and then rewrite it yourself, or you can ask ChatGPT to sort of cool it off for you, right? But let's go over here for an example of writing help, okay? I'm going to go over to my ChatGPT, and now what I've done here is just drafted something, and we're going to get our ChatGPT's help writing a letter to our HOA, okay? So help me draft an email to my HOA explaining why it should be okay for me to have a giant T-Rex on my front lawn all year long, okay? So I'm just kind of making this up, but you get the idea. So that's the kind of thing that you can ask for help with, right? And so it's going to think about that for a minute. And then let's see. Okay, here we go. Subject, request for year-round display of T-Rex lawn ornament. Okay. Community engagement or educational value, well-maintained appearance, all of these things, right? So it kind of drafts something up and it's super fun, right? And then all we have to do, like we learned yesterday, is just hit the little copy button and then go ahead and paste that into our email, make some edits to it, and we're good to go, right? We can hit send. Of course, put our name and stuff like that in there, fill in those blanks. We can always go back to the chat and say, you know, let's see, can we make this a little shorter? Okay, so you can have it rewrite it and shorten things up for you, get to the point a little quicker. All right, so it will do those things. That's the conversational aspect of ChatGPT. Okay, so now it's going to, now I'm using the brand new O1 model, which is actually much slower than the other model that we usually default to, because it does a lot of thinking, if that makes sense. So you may find that if you're doing that O1 model and you're in the premium subscription, things are a little slower. But okay, so there's a shorter email, right? Looks good. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. And you know, of course, there's not going to be some like spelling mistakes or something like that in there, but if you've been working on a document and you wanted to get some help looking at grammar or that kind of thing, then you certainly can do that, right? So, you know, that's entirely possible. You can just paste stuff in here and get help with all sorts of things, all right? So like, for example, I've been working on a sales letter for a product I've got, and I was just pasting this in and getting help earlier today. Getting help reading through all my subheadlines and headlines and making sure the flow is good, and you know, checking for any awkward parts. And all I do is just kind of go in here, hit my Command A and copy everything, and then I just paste it in. And then it'll start analyzing it and going through and giving you results. So that's the kind of cool stuff you can do with writing, okay? Now, the other thing we wanted to talk about here is how we can use ChatGPT to understand complex information and stuff like that, okay? So information and explanations now. Let's go ahead and go over here and let's start a new chat, okay? I'm just gonna click on that. And let's say, what should I know about wills and trusts and estate planning? Okay, let's just see kind of what it tells us about. I may switch models here just so things go a little faster, but okay. Okay. So see, it goes through all of this stuff. Guardians for minor children now. You know, can you help me understand what guardians means? See, you can just kind of like keep digging into stuff that you may not understand, or you want to kind of understand a little more deeply, right? Or like revocable living trust, like what does that really mean? You can dig into those things in this conversation. It'll keep digging down for you, okay? So you can see all this cool stuff it gives you back. And what's so nice compared to like reading this on the web is that you don't have a bunch of ads around it and everything. And it's not like, you know, someone's advice who's trying to like turn you into a client or something like that. So, you know, again, there's lots of disclaimers and stuff like that. So I encourage you to, you know, keep that in mind. Like ChatGPT certainly doesn't know how to help you with legal stuff, but when it comes to fact finding and learning, it does have a ton of information that you can learn from, right? So you can be a more educated consumer, right? So that is super cool. And so here are some other things you could do, right? Let's start a new chat. Information, right? Can you help me learn Spanish? So say you want to learn another language, okay? How can you help me practice? Can we have conversations? See, it gives you lots of resources at first, but then what it turns out is like ChatGPT itself is actually great for learning another language because you can just talk to it, right? You can turn on that dictation thing and like try to practice saying your Spanish, and it'll like transcribe what you say and then tell you how you're doing and that kind of stuff. So it's really fun in that way. And so I haven't really used it for learning another language, but I was reading about that and it seems like a perfectly great way to do it. And so I just wanted to show that to you. Okay, so why don't I kind of wrap things up there? That kind of gives us a great start on getting information, on getting help with our writing. Now, in Module 3, we're going to jump ahead and start doing stuff like helping us, like having ChatGPT help us create. Okay, so we started out with helping us get an email. We're getting some information now. We can do stuff like, let's say you've always wanted to publish a book, for example. We can get some help with how to write a book, and not just how to write the book, but gathering information, doing research, okay? Stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do in the next module, is dig a little deeper and start thinking about how can we create our own thing? How can we leave our own legacy and leave something here in the world that, you know, has our name on it and kind of conveys some of the things that we wanted to share with family, friends, and the world in general. Okay, so look forward to that. Thanks so much for joining me today. And listen, if you got something out of this video, please give it a like. And I'd love to have you as a subscriber, so hit the subscribe button as well. And we'll see you in the next video.